Okay, so another update. This just finished the second edition of Racing Time. So, among my time games is Racing Time. It is a fictional open world racing game. You play it with a D6 and paper. It's 3 page worth of rules. Well, I have revised the game. I have added driver creation, crew creation, car creation, and I've also added 10 circuits. All those circuits are named after the city, and the city are the big country cities from Big Country Boxing. So the game now, Racing Time Second Edition, is now called Big Country Racing. I am going to drop it right now before your very eyes. Again, this is going to be free. Big Country Racing, whoops. Big Country Racing is going to be dropped into the Google Drive folder, as well as the Big Country score sheets now for Big Country Racing. So, Time Racing is right here. Racing Time. It is one of my favorite games that I've ever made. Again, I'm not the greatest technical writer, and I'm not certain that Racing Time was written in such a way that it was easily understandable. I'm hoping that the rewrite and the additions and some of the tweaks will make it a little easier for people. Let's go back and look now. Make sure they're in here appropriately. There it is, BCR. So Big Country Racing, PDF. This is on 6. This is made for 6x9 because I'm thinking about sending it to Lulu and so you can order it in a book format. So I made it in the size format for a book. For a 6x9 digest size book. The cover is very simple. Big Country Racing by myself, Candlelight Games, all rights reserved. So basically, again, I'm explaining here that it is Racing Time Second Edition. I give a simple letter to open the game about the game and about the Big Country world that this game shares with Big Country Boxing. Then I do a little write-up on the game flow. So again, it's you got to read it. It requires you read through it. But then I break down the actual turns of the race, the qualify, the start, the pace pit, the race rally, the finish. And then, of course, I go over what the owner and teams are. What is a team? A team is rated for quality start, pace pit, and race rally. Drivers are just rated for their driver rating. Cars are rated for their breakdown rating. Crews are rated for the repair rating, and then how those things work. Then I give a write-up of the turn procedure. Again, you got to kind of read through this. But then ultimately, I break down the turn procedure here. It's called TSP, Turn Sequence Procedures, descending order for drivers, referring to drivers, not referring to this chart, obviously. So it just tells you on every turn what you do for every driver and how you resolve it in the proper order. And then you repeat the sequence until all 4 turns are complete. The 5th turn is really administrative. You just go through and make sure you get everything right before you reward driver points and championship constructor points. At the end of the race, whoever's number 1 gets 10 points for the driver championship. Constructor championships, of course, are awarded all the way down to the 9th place, or the 10th through 19. However, if you get a DNF, 0 points. So you can have a team award and you can have the driver championship. Updated. These are the same drivers and driver ratings from the original game. However, the team ratings now have changed. So you'll notice that this is different as, again, Hill and Taggart both race for BRM. And, of course, they share the same team ratings. So Hill and Taggart have the benefit of racing for BRM. So qualify, start, pace, and rally and race, those belong to BRM. They never change in the career. So as your career evolves and as you change your driver ratings, as you change your car ratings and your pit crew ratings, as you hire new drivers, as you fire drivers, as drivers may die in wrecks, the one thing that will never ever change, and you can't do, well, I guess you can, it's up to you, but the thing that will never change in the game are the teams, the owners. This is the BRM is the owner team. Their numbers will never change in the history of these 4 numbers will never change. The car will change every season, the pit crew will change every season, and your drivers could conceivably change rating-wise or just drivers. These guys will have to sign contracts, etc. So these teams are the teams in this universe. They never change. These numbers here never change. So this is your base ratings for your team. These things will all change. Okay, so just that, but this is how 1948 starts. These guys are assigned to these teams. This is their driver ratings. Here's their car and their pit crew, and then there's the team ratings. That's how you'll start 1948. Teams account for quality start, pace and pit, and race and rally. Those are the team ratings. They do not change. Driver ratings, again, I go over what those qualities are. And then, of course, if you want to make your own drivers, and you'll need to know this because a driver could be killed, or a driver could be not re-signed or fired or something, right? Or you could just want to make your own driver and see which team he ends up racing for. So you just make a simple die 6 roll, and this will be your driver's rating. You do this at the end of every season. Before you start a new season, your driver can completely see his ratings change. Car and pit crew ratings use the same chart. You roll first for the car, and that's the number that the car will have for potential breakdown. If you roll a 6, you have to roll 2 of these numbers. You don't want a car with 2 of these numbers. That's a 33% chance your car is going to break down on any turn. Not a good way to race. But remember, in 1948, the wear and tear on these cars, when they're going as fast as possible for as long as possible, breakdowns were very common. So again, don't let that spook you. The pit crew, then also you roll the pit crew up. Again, you want one of these because if you roll this number when the pit crew is working on your car, that means they can't fix it and the car is going to be retired from the race. So your pit crew rating, you want just one of these numbers as well. If you roll a 6, you got to roll 2, and that means your pit crew can really bungle it when they need repair. And that's described here. Driver contracts. So at the middle of every current season, so that would be depending on what order you want to run your circuits in, but let's say you're past the 5th race, you'll go through for every driver that's coming up to the end of his contract. You roll this D6 and find out if they go a free agent or if they sign an extension. Or there could be a career check. The career check means they might become a free agent, they might retire. So you could see, again, none of these guys currently have a contract. I'm going to leave it up to players to establish their contract before the end of the year. So you could assume they're all coming to the end of a contract. All these guys are going to become free agents. You could do that. And at the 5th, it's very simple. At the 5th race, just roll for every driver and see if they sign a new contract or they retire or whatever. Okay. Career check refers to this here. All right, now here are the big country circuits. There are 10 circuits, which all are set in the cities of big country boxing. So again, big country, that's the fictional world for big country boxing. I'm going to use it for big country racing. I'm probably going to use it for football time as well. I was thinking about making teams and calling football time big country football. But right now, second edition of football time is out and it's available. But if I do create a world of football, I'll probably just append it to that as big country football. Anyway, so there's the Central City track, there's the Middletown track, Green Bay, the Grand Bay track, the Fort Jefferson track, Bayside, Unionville, Springfield. These are all the cities in my boxing game. And these numbers modify the team ratings. So before every game, you got to go in and write in all your drivers, write in their ratings, and then you've got to write in the modified rating. So for instance, BRM racing at Central City is going to have a +6 qualify. Their start's going to be good. So what does this mean, +2? Well, this means it's a fast track. So Central City's probably long straightaways, uncomplicated turns. So Central City is a fast track, which means it's a good start to the first third of the race. Pace and pits, maybe a little complicated. Maybe pit row is tight. Maybe pit row comes comes out of the pits a little dangerous. So the pace and pit portion of the race is a little tight, and the race and rally, this is the finish, is also fast. As the Central City is just not a complicated track. Middletown is a technical track. This is a town with a lot of tight corners. It's going to be a slow track. This is similar to Monaco. Anytime you see a -3 qualify or minus start, you're looking at tight confines. You're looking at Monaco or Monte Carlo. I can't remember. What's the one on the damn seaside? It's Monaco, isn't it? Very technical. And then, of course, that means the start is tight, right? Tight windows, difficult to get around other drivers. Pace and pit, that means coming out of the pit can be very dangerous in these tight corners, as you're not only going into the pits in this technical track, you're going to be coming out of the pits in technical corners. So Middletown is going to be an interesting track that affects those ratings. And then race and rally, the example of race and rally here would be like Monaco. Once you've established the lead, it's difficult to lose it. I mean, it's really not going to be in this game, but it would be in reality. And you just pace yourself to the end, right? You try to rally, but So Grand Bay, as you can see, is going to have a little bit of both. Probably some sharp, some technical corners, but also some wide open corners. Um, the pit pace of the race and the pit times probably pretty comfortable for drivers, pretty fast. The race and rally, this is one of those tracks, by the time you get into the end, you've got it down and you're in the zone and you're going to have fast end to your race. Fort Jefferson qualifies quickly. However, because of the first turn, it's a very dangerous start to this race, as it's one of those long straightaway stretches with a tight first turn could create problems for teams to stay in the pole position, for instance. Pace and pit's fine because the pits are wide open on the straightaways to come in and out of the pits, not a problem. And race and rally can become a problem because of that tight turn as you're trying to catch up to competition. Bayside is another very technical track with lots of windy turns through the Bayside along the ocean front. Start is bad because of these tight turns. The pace and pit aren't great because of the tight confines. And again, you're not going to be able to stretch out the vehicle in these tight confines. So Bayside's always going to be a slow track, basically. Okay. Unionville, we got some speed. The start's good. Again, you probably have a tight corner coming off the first straightaway. Pace and pit, not bad. Not as good as Grand Bay. But there we have another good race rally. So Unionville's going to be a fast track. Springfield, a little mixed up, right? It's not quite as technical, but this tells me we have some technical corners. The start, again, probably a very dangerous first corner, maybe an S. So as you come out of the start and you come to the end of that long straightaway on the starting blocks, it's probably an S curve, which is very dangerous. Fort Jefferson might be an S curve. Springfield might just be a tight left or tight right. And then we got the pace and pit, which is going to be wide open, easy pit lanes, easy on, easy off out of the pits. And then, of course, the race and rally. +2. So again, this is one of those tracks that once you settle out and you find your line, the drivers can get into the zone, I should say. Paradise City, very fast. This is going to be a wide open track. However, the start, again, with a complicated opening quarter, pace and pit's not well designed, and rally, sheer speed, cars it's a long race, high speed, cars probably breaking down and getting tire problems, fuel problems, etc., reflected in these abstract scores. So you can imagine Paradise City is a fast, long track, right? Newburgh, again, somewhat technical, a little slow on the start in the first third of the race. The second third, or the middle third of the race, not great for pace and pit, and then the final third of the race is a decent run. Actually, it's going to be the best run for drivers in race and rally. So drivers are going to see a better finish as they've learned the track, as they become comfortable with the track. Coaldale is, again, not very fast. The start's pretty tough, but the pace and pit is really fast, but the final rally very hard in this. And why would that be? Because this is probably a very long track. Think of Coaldale out there in the mountains. This track is like the Nürburgring. It's maybe it's a 15-minute lap, right? So you're out there winding through the mountains and around the canyons, etc., etc., etc. So pace and pit is wide open. Unfortunately, it's a long track and a long race, so it's going to be very difficult to finish strong. And then I just give the totals of what these total up to. So most of this circuit. So if you were to create your own cities, or if you want to create, say, Europe, Silverton and all the European tracks of the 1940s and whatever, you could do that, and you can get an idea how they compare to this fictional American circuit. Again, they tally up to a +1, +1, +7 on pace and pit, and then +6 on race rally. So pretty cool. And that's the circuits. And these numbers, before the race start, you have to modify all of these numbers for every team before the race, and I have a score sheet for that. And then last but not least, I give you, you can print these out. This is the game flow right here on one page. The race itself, qualify, start, pace and pit, race, rally, finish, the turn sequence, TSP, and how you do that, and that's it. So you could have this in front of you, and it'll remind you what you need to do. For the details of collisions and wrecks, you'll have to flip to the book, which of course is identified up here. But there you have it, folks. That's Big Country Racing. It is the second edition of Racing Time. I've given it a world. I've given it a little more juice as far as a place and a time and drivers, etc. And now you can create your own drivers. You have contracts. You modify drivers, cars, and pit crews every year. The thing that never changes are the quality of these teams. And so you can see a team like Kingman, -5 on quality. So this is a team that doesn't have a great engine, right? This tells me these aren't fast cars, but boy, are they, mobile, etc. And then they're race rally because they're not fast cars. So Kingman is going to be famous for not having high-end speedy cars, but really good 2/3 of the race, right? The starting laps, 1/3 of the race, the middle of the race, and then the last part of the race. Maybe they break down more often, etc. These numbers will change here every year. So it just gives you an idea of how all the tracks will affect all the teams. And the teams include the coaches, the engineers, the mechanics, and the cars, the engines. So you can see these numbers as an abstract view of the entire team. That's the owner, the staff, the coaches, the mechanics, the engineers, the quality of the chassis, the quality of the engine, the parts. These things won't change, or at least I'm not going to provide. You can come up with a way to make teams or change teams every year. It's entirely up to you. But this would be the thing that never changes, and these courses would never change. What will change will be the driver ratings, the car ratings, and the pit crew ratings every year. So anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy this. It's free, so go get it if you want it. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'm sorry to spam you guys with so many videos, but I'm home. I have the day off, and I'm catching up on all this stuff that I've been trying to get done. Thank you. Bye-bye.